All right, this is chapter 4, 4.4, the last section in decimals, percents, and fractions of grade 8 math. We're starting at question 4, which says Chris purchased the following items. So find the total cost, including 5% GST and 7% PST. Now we have to imagine we went back in time, like the 1990s, when we actually had to calculate these taxes separately. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these. We're going to write a statement that shows all of the items together. So that BEDMAS statement of 499 times 2 plus 399 plus 1999 represents the cost of everything. Okay. So if I take this and I put it in brackets, if I multiply that to find out 5%, if I multiply it by 1, I would get the cost of all those items. If I multiply it by an additional 0.05, since 5% is equal to 5/100ths, as a decimal, it's this. So if I want to find 100% and 5%, this is actually representing 100 and 5%. So if I want to find 105% of that, I'd multiply it by 1.05. And then I'm going to use square brackets here, because this in the square brackets represents the cost of all of the items, including just the 5%. Now once that's calculated, I'm going to then multiply all of that by 1.07 to get the cost with the additional PST. And that's what provinces do. They first calculate the cost of the items with the GST attached, and then they tax you on that GST price rather than the non-GST price, because it makes them a little bit more money. Once we do that, if we grab our calculator and go right over here, I guess we can do it here. What is 499 times 2 plus 399 plus 1999? Get that as an answer, then multiply it by 1.05. Get that as an answer, then multiply that final answer by 1.07. And your answer is $38.15. Question 5 says Ravi purchased 3 DVDs for $19.99 each, and then find the cost with 5% GST and 6%. So again, we're going to have $19.99 multiplied by 3. That's going to be the cost of the DVDs without any tax. We're then going to multiply that to find 5%, so 1.05, multiplying that in brackets, because we do brackets first. Then we're going to put it in square brackets and multiply by 1.06. And when we do all that, it should work out properly. So I'm going to take my calculator again. What is 1999 times 3? It is $59.97 multiplied by the 1 for the cost of the DVDs and the GST. It is $62.97 roughly. And then multiply that by 1.0. Is it 6%? I think so. Can't remember. Yeah, 6% PST. And your final answer is $66.75. Approximately, because we're rounding. Question 6 said a store discounted items by 50% off the original price in week 1. And following week, the additional 10% was taken off the already reduced price. The regular price was $85. What's the reduced price? So if we think about this as being the $85 item, this is 100% of the item, right? So if I take off 50% from that price, I'm left with 50% as the cost. So the first thing we're going to do is write down 50% of $85. So 50% written as a decimal with a superfluous 0 is 0.50. So 50% of the $85 is what you're going to be paying for. And then once you've calculated that number, I can put it in brackets because that's going to represent a number. I'm going to take off an additional 10%. So if I think about this as being the new price, that's 100% of the new price. If I take off 10%, how much of the new price am I really paying for? I'm paying for 90% of it. So therefore, I want 90% of this amount, which means 90% with the superfluous 0 is 0.90. So this will represent the cost of the discounted item. So I'm going to grab my calculator. What is 50% of the original $85? It's $42.50. But since I'm going to save 10%, I'm going to just pay for 90% of it. So I'm going to multiply that by 90%, and I'm going to get $38.25. That's the final price. Any questions? We're good? All right. Next question. A herd of 100 caribou was moved to a new location. The population increased by 10% the first year, then increased 20% the second year. It says find the population after the second year. So if it was a 30% increase, 10% and 20%, if it increased by that 10%, 20%, intuition says it should be 30% larger, right? But the truth is, because it increased by 10% the first year, it's a larger number, and therefore when it increases 20% the second year, it's going to be a little bit more than 30%. So 100 multiplied by, it's going to increase by 10%, so we're going to have 100% of it, plus an additional 10%. I'm going to put that in brackets. That represents the population after year one. And that number, whatever that happens to be, is going to increase by 20%, which is 1.2 or 1.20. So this simple expression represents the change in population over the 2 years. So 100 caribou increased by 110%. Means that after year one, there's 110 caribou in that herd. And if I'm going to increase that 110 by 20%, 110 caribou increased by 120%, means that after year two, there's 132 caribou. Not 130 like we would have assumed, but 132. Say again. That is true. That's only because it was 100, though. If it wasn't 100, that wouldn't have worked. Yeah, okay. That is true. Question 8 says copy and complete the following table. So we're 15%, aren't we? Did we just say to just do 15%, or did I say 5%, 10%? I can't remember. Did I say 5%, 10%? Okay. So 119.99 increased by 5% would be 1.05. That would represent the cost with the GST. And for the 10% tax, 1 is the 100%, 0.1 is 10%, so this would be the expression. And if I take my calculator, 119.99 multiplied by 1.05, the cost with GST is that, and the cost with PST is that, so therefore we're going to use 138.59, 138.59. I guess we didn't do total tax, but that's okay, we don't have to. For pants, same thing. The only difference is I'm changing it into this here. Changing into pants. That's a good thing. Multiplied by 1.05. Multiplied by, oh, not by 4. That would be a lot. 1.1. Final cost is 103.94. I'm going to change the next one to 39.99. Look how easy this is. How simple is this? 39.99 multiplied by 1.05 multiplied by 1.1. 46.19. And the final one, change it to that, to 189.99 multiplied by 1.05 equals, multiplied by 1.1 equals 219.44. 219.44. Any questions with that? Did anyone do it my way, where you just substitute that number into the formula 4 times? Pretty simple, wasn't it? When you think about it. Question 9 says, RJ was thinking about buying a car. This is where somebody freaked out a little bit. Bought a car. Bought a car worth $23,000, but delayed purchased the car for a year, and just because of that, he had to pay an extra 3.2%. So what was the price of the car when RJ purchased it? So if I think about 100% of the car, plus the increase of 3.2%, this is 103.2%, which as a percentage, since it's or as a fraction, is 103.2 out of 100, which is 1,032 out of 1,000. That's an equivalent fraction with no decimal, which is equal to, I'll do it up here, 1 and 32 thousandths. Does everyone see that train of thought that I just had there? 100% plus 3.2% equals 103, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, as a decimal, this would be equal to 1 and 32 thousandths. So 1 100%, and 3.2% looks like that. So if I take the car, 103.2% of the 23,000 would look like this as an expression. 103.2 multiplied by the $23,000 car is $23,736. $23,736. So we ended up losing $736 more. What's the total cost with 5% GST, 5% PST? So I'm going to take this and multiply it by 1.05 to get the GST. Then multiply that entire amount by 1.05. And Bob should be your stinking uncle. 23,732. I'm sorry if your uncle was Bob and he does smell. I apologize. Does anyone have a smelly Bob uncle? No? Good. Multiply by 1.05 equals, and then multiply that amount by 1.05 for the second time. You get 26,164. 26,164 and 53 cents is the cost of the car. Question 10 says, what's the total cost of 4 tires that sell for $85 each? So the first thing, without having any tax added on there, that would be the cost of 4 tires. Since we then have to tax that amount by 5%, multiplying it by 1.05 will get me the cost of the tires and the cost of the tax. And then all of this, I'm assuming the environmental tax is added on to that, I think, but it might be separate. I wonder if they charge environmental tax on the taxable amount or the non-taxable amount. Do they charge the 1.5% on all of this, or do they only charge the 1.5% on the cost of the tires? Let's vote. How many believe they charge the environmental tax on the entire price? What? They do it at the end to make more money? Okay. So if that's true, 1.5% is 0.015. So 101.5% would be 100 and 1.5%. So we're going to see what this works out to be. So the $85 times 4, the tires will cost you $340, multiplied by 1.05, the cost of the GST is $357, multiplied by the 100% and 1.5%, the final cost of the tires is $362.36. $362.36.